What's up, Taiwan? I'm Joyce, coming to you from Taipei with the latest news. Indigenous activists who've been camping out near the presidential office in Taipei for nearly 8 years are ending their sit-in. They say the Thai administration has failed them. Despite their decision to dismantle their camp, they say their fight for justice will continue. Tiffany Wong has the story.
Marking the end of an era at this years-long movement for Indigenous land rights, singer-turned-activist Banai is saying goodbye to her temporary home of nearly 8 years, surrounded by close friends and collaborators.
辛苦大家，谢谢大家，一路上很关注我们，然后每个人用自己的方式送来给我们的关心。
This is the encampment where Banai has been living near the presidential office for the past 8 years to raise awareness of Indigenous land rights disputes. Now, after May 20th, when President Tsai Ing-wen leaves office, she's planning on heading back home to Taitung. But she's already left a strong impact raising awareness here in Taipei. And activists say that their calls for a return of government-seized lands to Indigenous people will continue.
The activists particularly took issue with Tsai, who they hoped would be a champion for Indigenous rights. When she entered office, she became the first president to apologize to Taiwan's Indigenous peoples for the oppression they faced by the government. And under her administration, the Council of Indigenous Peoples found that Indigenous people had claims over nearly half of Taiwan's land. But these activists say that since then, the government has ignored their calls to acknowledge those Indigenous lands now marked as private property. And with another president from Tsai's party coming into office, they are not hopeful for change, but are still going to keep fighting.
民进党没有很认真对待原住民过往的历史，那我们就只好自立自强，我们要更勇敢说出我们的诉求。海岸，
海岸。Throughout the occupation, people here held educational workshops and made protest art to draw attention to Indigenous land rights, all while facing pressures from police and the public.
警察有时候是来协调或是骚扰他们，就是当然这目的可能会希望他们从公园离开。那他们从这么长时间撑下来，撑到现在，然后才决定要离开，这件事情是在台湾的抗争史上面算是蛮厉害的。
Now they're making their stand one last time in front of the presidential office, where it all began 8 years ago, letting Tsai and her administration know that they are watching and will continue to campaign for Indigenous land they say is rightfully theirs. Ryan Wu and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Aid to war-torn Ukraine is creating political tension here in Taiwan, with one lawmaker raising questions about the government's handling of the money it's pledged. John Van Trieste reports.
A standoff in Taiwan's legislature over a fund to rebuild Ukraine's war-torn medical system. The funding itself isn't the issue. Instead, it's what the government's done with the money. Opposition Kuomintang lawmaker Xu Jiaoqin says, as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, she has questions. For this reconstruction project, Taiwan has joined up with the Czech Republic, one of its closer European partners. The two sides signed a deal in December. But that's where Xu says the transparency ends. She says the government didn't announce it was putting $10 million into the project. She also says it never revealed which Taiwanese companies got the Taiwanese share of the contracts, or how they won their bids. Her biggest questions, though, are about the Czech side of the deal, and whether the Czech contractor, the nonprofit Czech Health Technology Institute, was picked appropriately.
它是一个很大间的医材厂商，捷克的政商关系是非常良好的。会不会它就转成是给他们捷克当地国会议员的政治现金？这是我觉得一个非常合理的一个之一。
But Xu doesn't have evidence of wrongdoing, and the government says its dealings have been above board.
徐委员指控，台捷合作计划中，捷克政府指定的执行单位捷克卫生科技院 （CHTI） 是一间私人公司，并非事实。记者朋友可上网查一下该单位的网页，清楚地说明了 CHTI 是一个非营利组织。
Taiwan isn't the only country where aid for Ukraine has sparked controversy. But in Taiwan's legislature, questions about transparency and who may end up benefiting are driving a difficult conversation. Joseph Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A group of opposition lawmakers have postponed their trip to Taiwan-governed Taiping Island in the South China Sea. The Kuomintang lawmakers plan to inspect defense facilities on the island, but have pushed this back, citing weather and a legislative vote the next day. They've been urging President Tsai Ing-wen to reaffirm Taiwan's sovereignty over the island with a visit before she leaves office. Taiping is part of the disputed Spratly Islands in the South China Sea. The island chain is subject to competing claims by Vietnam, China, and the Philippines. The United States and the Philippines are practicing defending beaches on the Philippines' northwest coast. It's part of the two nations' annual Balikatan exercises. And as Rick Lowert reports, this year the drills are taking place near potential flashpoints with neighboring China.
Here at La Paz Sand Dunes in northwest Philippines, just a few hundred kilometers from Taiwan, the Philippines and US military are conducting live-fire counter-landing drills. Using infantry and artillery, they're practicing pushing back enemy forces that have landed on this beach.
It's a defense operations, practically, and the fires that we, from the surface to the sea, the artillery fires, that's particularly to defend from forces coming from the outside landing to our land.
It's all part of Balikatan 2024, key drills between the Philippines and its defense partner, the US. This year, they are more expansive than ever, taking place outside the Philippines' territorial waters in the South China Sea, reflecting the Philippines' determination to stand up for its sovereignty in the face of rising territorial aggression from China.
I think the Philippines and the US have a shared vision of a free and open Pacific, right? That's grounded in transparency. It's grounded in the respect of sovereignty. It's grounded in the seeking of peaceful solutions. Again, make no mistake, though, that if there can't be a peaceful solution, we have an obligation to our countries.
But the drills are also taking place in areas facing Taiwan, another potential flashpoint, and a country also subject to Chinese aggression. Also one that, like the Philippines, relies on the US for its defense. As China ups its claims and aggression towards Taiwan, neighboring Philippines has been watching, and its defense partner, the US, has been keen to look at how areas like this one could play a role in the event of conflict. Alex Chen and Rick Lowert in Ilocos Norte, the Philippines, for TaiwanPlus.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping has arrived in France on his first diplomatic trip to Europe in 5 years. Xi is scheduled to hold joint meetings with French President Emmanuel Macron and EU Commission head Ursula von der Leyen. They're expected to discuss efforts to reduce trade imbalances and using Xi's influence with Russia to stop the war in Ukraine. After France, Xi will visit Serbia and Hungary. The death toll from floods in southern Brazil has climbed to at least 78. Over 100 others are missing, and more than 80,000 have been displaced by the floods, which have swept across the southern state of Rio Grande do Sul. The water has left a trail of destruction, triggering landslides and washing out roads and bridges. The governor of the state has described the damage as unprecedented. A large thunderstorm has caused flooding and flight delays in Taiwan's outlying Penghu Islands. Heavy rains flooded an underground parking lot, damaging several vehicles. 7 flights were also delayed, affecting more than 1,700 passengers. The island's aquarium was struck by lightning, and a generator was needed to maintain the water and oxygen pumps. The aquarium says no animals were harmed by the storm. Commuters are about to take another hit in the wallet. The government is letting Innercity bus operators raise their prices for the first time in well over a decade. Eric Gao explains.
A trip out of the city is about to get more expensive. Coaches like these ply the highways between Taiwan's major cities, with people taking over 50 million trips on them in 2023. They're a popular transportation choice for day trips, or for people working in the big cities to get back to their hometowns. But after a 17-year price freeze, transportation officials have given the green light for bus operators to raise their ticket prices.
透过这一次的一个调整，可以合理的反映业者的一个营运成本哈，那同时来改善整体的一个经营环境。
With rising costs of fuel, labor, and other operating expenses, bus companies have been calling for an increase for a while. The Transportation Ministry is now letting them raise prices by up to 6.5%.
我初步算一下，像台北基隆或台北桃园，类似这样4排座的通勤路线，它实际上的涨幅大概应该也不过1块2块钱啦。
That's for one of these shorter routes in a more crowded bus. A trip from Taipei in the north to Kaohsiung in the south in a 3-seat per row coach could cost up to $1 more once the price increases take effect. Commuters have mixed feelings about the price hike.
毕竟现在人各种都在涨啊，我觉得适当的调整是应该的。
记得从以前那个票价就一直在涨了，然后如果还要再涨的话，就可能会蛮影响到返乡的那个频率的。
It's not all bad news for travelers. The main monthly pass won't go up in price, and individual companies can decide how much they raise prices up to the new cap. But for many travelers, it means heading out of town for whatever reason will cost just that little bit more. Luffy Lee and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Tainan is ramping up its efforts to prevent a surge of dengue fever. The southern city was at the center of last year's outbreak, with most of the country's 26,000 cases recorded there. As mosquito populations grow in the summer, the city has introduced fines for people who leave standing water on their property. Most of the 146 locally transmitted cases this year have been in neighboring Kaohsiung, but Tainan's mayor says people still need to remain vigilant.
目前看起来指数并没有特别高，但是都是各地都严加戒备。那如果万一哪些地方的幼软桶的这个病媒蚊指数飙高了，我们就要赶快全力去清除。所以说，境外已经开始在大烧特烧了，那境内特别需要严加戒备。
Scientists have discovered a new algae species in Taiwan, and they believe it could transform the way cities treat their wastewater. The international team found the algae in a hot spring in Yangmingshan, a volcanic mountain on the outskirts of Taipei. They say it can tolerate a hot, acidic environment and can also absorb toxic heavy metals. The team believes this means the algae could one day be used to treat polluted water. Temple goers in Jiayi County got their feet wet over the weekend. Irene Lin looks at how a local tradition is thought to bring prosperity to the southern county.
With music blaring, temple staffers carry multiple deities into the river. They're taking part in an annual event designed to bless the land and water of Jiayi County in southern Taiwan. Thousands came to witness the centuries-old celebration.
特别来参与，然后想不到今天蛮多摄影的人员或是庙方人员办的活动，然后阵头蛮多的，比去年的更多的人潮。
In recent years, Jiayi County has seen its economy move away from agriculture to tech. County Magistrate Wang Zhangliang says the events focus on future prosperity, reflecting Jiayi's character.
整个过程实际上很浓厚的嘉义人的味道，跟嘉义人的人情味全部充斥在里面。
As Jiayi County's economy transitions, people here want to hold on to old traditions. They hope events like these will bring future prosperity and fortune while keeping one foot firmly in the past. Liang Lian and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwanese ink wash paintings on show in Thailand are bringing a fresh touch to an art form that goes back over 1,000 years.
水墨画是已经很长的久的历史，然后要怎么样让它能够更加的有现代化，所以我就做了一些像是装置啊，然后也有做一些现代的人物的肖像的绘画。
An exhibition in Bangkok titled The Stroke is showing works by Taiwanese artists Li Guanlian and Wang Guanya. With a range of immersive pieces, the exhibition encourages visitors to explore ancient philosophical ideas through contemporary art. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Before we go, check out these daylilies blooming in Changhua in central Taiwan. I'm Joyce Tseng. Take care and see you next time.